And he told me this story, right? And then now I've heard it from Steve and them. And when, me and Tapper started kind of working together again, now like I made them retell me the story too. But yeah, so Lane was supposed to sing on that song. They had I guess when Lane passed away, you'll have to have Steve or Phil on here. Maybe we'll all come on here one day together and talk about this, and they can tell you the story. I guess, but Lane, when he passed away, he had like a Walkman on or with him, and the CD in it was that track. So the last thing Lane was listening to in his life was that Taproot song. Literally the day after he passed away, Steve and Toby were supposed to fly up to Seattle to go meet with him about doing it. And I guess the last thing he listened to, supposedly before he passed away, was the Kevin Spacey track for the Taproot record.
That's insane. Yeah, I mean, just the fact that he was going to be on Taproot. I mean, you got to wonder what would happen with Taproot if Lane Staley actually did that song, and what would that would be? Hey,
you're not supposed to have a cooler office than me. Fuck that. Like that's acceptable. You really have the fucking Metallica pinball machine? Fuck you.
Dude, I had Rob on the show from Chimera, and he said that's the first thing he mentioned was that. That's pretty funny.
What is that Faith No More thing behind your head?
So that's so funny. You and Rob talk about the exact same thing. So there's a company called Check Your Head, named after Beastie Boys.
Is that a skateboard?
Yeah. So Check Your Head. They just
I'm familiar with Check Your Head. I mean, I run Volatile skateboards. I don't know if you even know that. I basically Your Head is like a friend of the owner of Volatile, John. But I mean, I run Volatile with John. I do all the marketing. We do Helmet, Dark Throne, White Zombie. I mean, we do. But yeah, I just couldn't tell from. I guess now looking at it, it's just an old school shape.
That's amazing. And I've got to send you a picture of Ivan from White Zombie signing my Volatile White Zombie skate deck. I have it signed.
That's so funny. That's so awesome. Yeah, I have a handful of them here. I have the Dark Throne helmet, White Zombie warrant.
Yes, I got that helmet one. I got the Betty one too from you guys.
Do you really? Yeah, I didn't have. So we'll have a lot to talk about. And I was going to say too. I know you're recording already, and this is all kind of good stuff. So I don't know if you want to, but
no, man, we can do whatever.
Earlier, if you wanted me to, I know this is such a good natural introduction. I was going to say earlier, if you want, I was going to offer to send you kind of an updated list of what I'm doing and what I got going on, just so you knew what to talk about. But I feel like we can go in blind, and it'll just be more fun that way, But
let's go in blind.
I'm the market. Let's do it. We're already in blind. We're in dry and blind. And I have a pocket full of ketchup, man. That's how my day is going.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Some of it is fire sauce. It's not all. I stand corrected. I have a pocket full of fire sauce.
That's the only thing that's hot over there. I mean, you said it was like 10 degrees, so you got some hot sauce.
Oh my God. The building next to me, like 4:00 this morning. I was up late. And like 3:30 this morning, I was starting to fall asleep, right? And I'm on a rock and roll schedule. I mean, let's admit it. So like 3:30, I'm falling asleep, right? All of a sudden, my dogs start freaking out. And behind my house, my window. So the firehouse for my little town, I live in a town of like 500 people in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin, right? So my dogs start freaking out, and there's all this action and sirens. I'm like, what the shit? Like 5 o'clock, so I can't fall asleep. They keep waking me up. Like a half hour later, my power goes out.
That's
and there was
crazy.
a huge snowstorm yesterday. I'd say like a fucking blizzard. Like when I went outside today, there was 1.5 feet of snow behind my car in my driveway. Right. So like even today, I went out. I was going to go to the post office. I had to walk. So So I called the
That's insane.
I call the power company, and I go, hey, I think there's an outage. And they go, no, it's because of the fire. We had to turn all the power off because we just didn't, for some reason. But then I found out there's a fire next door, literally the next building over from me burned down to the ground. Like I didn't even know what building they were talking about until I went out today to go to the post office and saw it. And it's literally like the next building over. So my power was out, and it's cold, and there was no power also means no heat. So from 5 o'clock this morning until 9:30 this morning, I had no power and no heat in my house. And it was like 10 degrees outside.
Do you got a fireplace or no fireplace? Nothing.
I got a blanket and some dogs. No.
At that point, I would sit in my car, I think, or something.
Too cold outside in my car. I just hid under a blanket and waited it out. And finally, at like 8 o'clock, I was smart, and I'm like, oh, I'll just turn on Netflix on my phone and fall asleep. And that's what I did, and I fell asleep.
So I got a lot of like you said, I have a lot of questions for you, but you mentioned that you got some new stuff. And so why don't you just talk about what's going on new, and then we can kind of do the new and then the old.
Yeah. Well, as we already kind of impromptu talked about in the connection over here, so I work for Volatile Skateboards, Volatile Merchandise. Obviously, you're familiar with the company. You own some of our decks, which is awesome.
Oh, I just ordered the Fear Factory decks. They're on the way.
Which ones you order, obsolete or do you manufacture?
Both. Yeah, I'm a skate deck dude, man. I need them all.
Yeah, me too, man. Well, it's so cool. We're about to do. So, they're like $70, right? All of our boards are like nice Canadian maple pro models. But you hang them on the wall like I do, right?
I do the same thing.
You're a wall hanger. Me too, right? Oh, by the way, God, I got to show you this later. Kemper sent me a the Motley Crue snowboard the other day. It's the raddest.
Ooh, I've seen that. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's so cool. Yeah, we do. So we do Kemper skateboards as well, where we manufacture Kemper's line of skateboards. Kemper snowboards, obviously a huge snowboard manufacturer for anybody who doesn't know. But yeah, we do all of their decks. So we had a conference call with Jib the other day, the owner, and Jib Hunt is a pro snowboarder, and he owns Kemper now. And we had a call the other day, and I was just busting his chops about a Motley Crue board. And then by the end of the call, I was like, "Fine, give me your address." And I'm a big Motley guy, like my whole life is Motley shit, So he sent me one, and I was so excited.
Dude, that's amazing. What's your favorite Motley album? Do you have a favorite go-to?
I don't. All of them, man. All the first. I mean, obviously, Too Fast for Love and Shout at the Devil are closest to the heart, probably. But I love Theater of Pain. I love, Dr. Feelgood. I love everything up through, and I even love the John Corabi record, man. Honestly,
yeah.
Look at it in a different way than the original 5, I guess. But yeah, man, I Shout at the Devil and Too Fast for Love, of course, but then. I have a soft spot in my heart for Theater of Pain too, and I love Dr. Feelgood. It was all such a formative time in my life when I discovered Motley. And if you look around my messy ass office, I got the Decade mobile up there. I don't know if you ever remember that or saw that when
I've never seen that one. That's cool.
Where is it? Can you see it? Yeah, is it?
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Decade of Decadence mobile with all of them hanging down.
That's so cool.
This is my shelf of nerdy shame up here. Some Limp Bizkit platinum right there.
I ordered a Taproot deck from you guys as well.
Did you order the Tap? Well, that's what's funny.
I'm your biggest fan, man.
You are. It's so awesome, and you probably don't even know all this shit now, but I manage Taproot now. I'm kind of managing them, and I just signed. So I relaunched my label THC that had been so 2 years ago I had heart failure. In 2020 I had heart failure, and so I was working with David Ellison, and he had his little issues, and I kind of parted ways with him, and sort of fucking soft retired, man. I wasn't planning on it, but I made an angry post on Facebook one day, and then all of a sudden, it's on Blabbermouth and Loudwire and Revolver, and apparently I retired. So I'm like, oh, okay. And really, it wasn't. The post was totally kind of taken out of context and whatever. It was just a venting Facebook post, but whatever. I really didn't give a shit, But yeah, so I really kind of did. I kind of stepped away from music. I started doing the skateboard thing. I started working with Volatile and kind of being more on that side. And it's awesome because I brought in Fear Factory, that collaboration, and a lot of this newer stuff. I've known John for years. Like we did a Combat Records board together and a couple other things before, and we were just kind of friends all these years. And I love skateboarding, and I love the skateboarding community. And I'm obviously way too old and fat to skate, you know what I mean? But I would die. But I love skateboarding and the skate community, and that's kind of always been one of my things, man. Like music, movies, like skateboard lore. And I mean, I love like the Dogtown culture and the, in the 80s, like Bones Brigade, Powell Peralta. And again, I skated when I was young. So again, kind of like those early Motley Crue records and all that real early shit skateboarding. And that early culture was just been a big part of my, I got the Rob Roscoe face hanging behind me somewhere, too. It's like, so again, so I kind of took some time off from music and was doing the skateboard thing with Volatile. And then we obviously do skateboards and merch. And through that, I started talking to Phil from Taproot. I wonder if Phil's doing. I might have Phil jump in with us at some point. He actually called me before.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but Phil from Taproot called me before when I was passed out. So I don't know.
Wow.
Nobody knows this. I'm an asshole. We were supposed to do this interview in like an hour ago, but I'm like a narcoleptic grandpa and I passed out on the couch after all night. And of course, I fucking forgot. We were supposed to do this interview last week and I'm an asshole and I forgot about it.
No,
You were awesome enough to dude, I'm just between my schedule and my brain malfunctions, I'm just, it just shit happens, my health it's good, but it's not great. And sometimes just little shit happen. I appreciate you, putting up with it. But no, I was super stoked to do this. I'm glad we finally got to connect and do it. But anyways, a long story short, 2 years kind of came back around. I started talking to Philly from Taproot, who I've been friends with for years. And they had put this out besides. I don't know if you have this.
Yes, I got it. Yep, I saw it. Yep, I have it.
You have everything.
Yeah. The drummer. You talk when you say Bill,
Jared,
you're talking.
Jared put that out. Yep.
Jared. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. He put a book out too, right? Didn't he?
He did. Yeah, the
Rock
Rockstar series or something. Yeah. No, Jared's a cool dude, and Jared's actually, he's kind of not in the band anymore, but he kind of is. Like Dave from Sponge is kind of the drummer, but now like they're doing Blue Ridge Rock Fest, and Jared is going to play that. And yeah, I can't really talk about that, but I got my mouth because there's stuff that's not announced yet, but I kind of like about to start talking about it. I'm like, hi, yeah, and I kind of really talk about it like phone calls and stuff, which I'll tell you off the record. But yeah, I freely am so used to talking about it on the phone, but I'm like, oh yeah, this is an interview. I can't.
I know, man. It's easy to do that. Yeah,
I know it is, especially me, because I just diarrhea of the mouth. Yeah, so Jared put out the band put out the Sides collection that Jared pretty much put together. It's like 150 tracks of basically every song they've ever done. Steve recorded demos in his basement, and that's
amazing. Yeah,
and I loved that. And I was like, Phil, what the? And I'm like, I asked him about this. Like, yeah, Jared just put it out. We did it independently. We did like 500 copies. It's pretty much been sold out. I'm like, motherfucker, let me put it out. Let me put that out for real. Like, let's do that.
Yeah, so I mean, that's true. Why not? Yeah, you can.
Exactly. Well, we ended up doing the skateboards, and then we ended up doing the merch store. And Taproot's been, kind of on hiatus for the last decade. They've played a couple shows here and there. They haven't put out a record in over 10 years. And, so, and they just kind of weren't really communicative anymore. And it was just like kind of, you know what I mean? So they just weren't really into it, So I came back in and I was like, dude, let's do merch. I came like the Tasmanian Devil. Let's do merch. Let's do skateboards. Let's do this. Let's do this. And kind of did what I do and sort of just started stirring everything up. And so they agreed for me to put up Besides. But then at the time I found out Steve had a whole new Taproot studio record ready to go that he wanted to put out. So I was like, look, let's just do this. So me and Steve started talking, and now me and Steve and me and Phil are kind of BFFs, and we talk all day, every day. And it just came around to, I restarted my label, THC Music, which, I put out stuff for American Head Charge before. I put out one of the Black Light Burns records for Westmoreland. I put out a bunch of stuff on it, right? And so I relaunched my label to kind of distribute and market these. I just did a new distribution deal, which is amazing, worldwide and great. And basically the same deal I had for EMP and everything I did before, everything I do in the last 8 years. That was all built on my connections and my, I got all the distribution deals and I did everything. I mean, honestly,
wow.
Call a spade a spade. I mean, David had nothing to do with it. Literally, he had nothing to do with the label. I ran it. I signed the band. I got all the deals. And I don't think I've ever really said that publicly in that blunt of a, but it's the fucking truth. And, David was a great spokesman and it was his idea to start it. And basically he just said, I want to start a label. And I said, hey, I'll help you. That's what I do. I run labels. So I took the ball and I ran with it. I went and got our distribution deal with E1. Then when E1 kind of winded down, and I went and got us the distribution deal with Amped and all of our European deals and with SPV and everything else. And yeah, so basically, but I just sort of relaunched my label with, I went and got, locked in new distribution and new stuff. And, just sort of built on the same template of what I've been doing for the last 10 years, 20 years with EMP and Combat and Corporate Punishment before that. And then in the middle, I had THC. So I had Corporate Punishment in the aughts, and but then obviously Ghost Machine and Trigger Point and all the trust companies, some
Oh,
trust
I love
companies.
Shark Sammy. That's cool.
Yeah, we did that. I don't know if you remember that Amity Lane record. It was basically Trust Company, but they didn't want to, but it was Josh and it was the two main guys from Trust Company, but they didn't, it was Josh and Kevin Palmer, but they didn't want to call it Trust Company for whatever reason. So we called it Amity Lane, and I put out a record for them. But yeah, so I had Corporate Punishment, and then that kind of took its course, and then I started THC and did that for a while, and then got into the EMP thing. Even the EMP thing, I was still doing THC records during that like that Chuck Mosley records I put out.
Oh yeah, you put Chuck Mosley records out.
I
Oh,
did.
that's amazing.
I managed Chuck on and off for the last.
Faith No
5
More
years.
is like my favorite bands,
Yeah,
dude.
me
That's
too. Me
amazing.
too. Faith No More is like my yeah. So Chuck, yeah. So I kind of managed Chuck, and yeah, I put out the last two. I reintroduced Will Rap over Hard Rock for Food, and then I put out Reintroduce Yourself. So I put that out on THC as well.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, man. That's amazing. I never
yeah.
knew
So
that,
Chuck,
man.
yeah, Chuck was a good buddy of mine, and I love Chuck, and I had some really great experiences. I got to see him just a few months before he passed away. We went to we took him with us to the Loudwire Awards in LA. We were a sponsor, and yeah, we took Chuck with and got to have a really good hang. And that was the last time I saw him. Unfortunately, his lifestyle got the better of him.
Yeah. Do you
And
remember when he were you a part of when he covered a Faith No More song, "Take This Bottle" from King for a Day? He covered. Yeah. Was that were you we were working on that?
That was kind of shortly. There was a weird kind of time at the end where it was like I was kind of, yeah, yes and no. I was still kind of involved, but still sort of like, I was involved through when he did, he did those Faith No More reunion shows. I went
Yes.
at the Palladium. I don't know if you went out to.
Oh,
Amazing. Like I got to go to the show at the Palladium, and it was incredible, man. It was so awesome. I don't think I've ever seen Chuck happier. But yeah, so in the end, he did a couple releases. I think one of them came out posthumously that I wasn't
yeah.
involved with. To be honest, he was kind of, his buddy Doug, who was working with him and played with him and toured with him, was kind of, they were just kind of going down some other roads and doing some other stuff. So I Take This Bottle, I believe he released independently somehow.
Yeah,
And
I've randomly found that. That was good.
yeah, no, it was cool. Again, there wasn't a whole lot of marketing on those last couple things he did just independently. But again, they wanted to go down a different road, and I was totally cool with it. I never want to hold any artist back. You know what I mean? Like they're all my friends, man. I mean, I love Chuck. He was my friend, but he had his lifestyle and the things he did, and I really was one of the people who helped get him sober, and
Oh, wow.
hoped he would
That's cool.
stay that way. But yeah, man, it's funny. I managed David Riley from God Lives Underwater for a long time, and
See, what happened to them? He passed away, didn't he? The God Lives
David passed
Underwater.
away too. No,
He drowned, didn't he?
No, actually, no. Here, I'll tell you the story. Give me a second. So God Lives Underwater after Up Off the Floor. Basically, David and Jeff had personal issues. David had a really bad drug issue, and just speak candidly about it. And that finally created a rift that was just unrepairable between those two guys. And they were basically the two main guys of the band. It was Jeff and David. Everybody else was kind of secondary, you know what I mean? But it was basically Jeff and David. And they were in that band together since they were like 17 years old, right?
Yeah.
And Dave had been an addict the entire time. So, I mean, like Dave literally, when they were making Up Off the Floor, Dave lived with me in LA. He slept on my couch or my living room in my apartment in Hollywood, right? So all those songs on Up Off the Floor, he wrote around that period and wrote while he was living with me. And so, yeah, so they put out that record, and then the band sort of dissipated. And then a year or two later, Dave was not in great shape, and we started talking, and I really helped him. I helped him get clean, and he got clean, and I basically said, "Look, get clean, and let's do this again. Let's do some shows." So I put out basically his last real release. It was called Inside, but it was just like a 5-song EP. But I actually got Jeff to mix it and do programming on 2 of the songs. So literally, I got Dave and Jeff, that God Lives Underwater, back together to play on this one EP David did. And we did some shows and we did some stuff, and David was getting healthy. And so sadly enough, he was clean when he died. He was clean, and he had stayed clean. So he had really bad teeth from the years of doing heroin, basically, and the years broke down his teeth, but he was clean, but he had a really bad tooth infection that got down into his heart, and that's what killed him. He died from all the infection in his mouth getting into his heart. And
that's wow.
Yeah, so it's horrible. So I mean, it fucking killed him anyway, even after he was clean and doing healthy and doing great. And and I love his sister Gretchen's a good friend of mine. My daughter Riley is named after David. You know what I mean? Like her name's spelled Reilly. So, and she was born the year he died in 2005. So
wow, it's been that long.
It has. It's been a long time, but it's still,
I got to go back. Oh yeah, keep going. I'm sorry.
I just think the Chuck Mosley thing was really like an immediate, and then Chester passing away and all these guys. There's been a lot of death around, man. It's kind of I don't want this whole interview to turn into a bummer. So yeah, let's shift away from this. But yeah, the Chuck Mosley thing instantly brought me right back to that place with David and that going on. And
with that being said, I want to say this real fast because I don't want to let it go while it's fresh in my mind. With Taproot, I was listening to an Audible book about Lane Staley, and they were talking about how he was going to be on Taproot's sophomore album. Can you talk about that? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. We can talk about that. So basically the song, it's actually on here. It's called Kevin Spacey. But so it was it's so funny. So before I was, I'm really good friends with Toby Wright. And he told me this story, right? And then now I've heard it from Steve and them. And when me and Tapper started kind of working together again, now like I made them retell me the story too. But yeah, so Lane was supposed to sing on that song. They had I guess when Lane passed away, you have to have Steve or Phil on here. Maybe we'll all come on here one day together and talk about this, and they can tell you.
Yeah.
I guess, but Lane, when he passed away, he had like a Walkman on or with him, and the CD in it was that track. So the last thing Lane was listening to in his life was that Taproot song. Literally the day after he passed away, Steve and Toby were supposed to fly up to Seattle to go meet with him about doing it. And I guess the last thing he listened to, supposedly before he passed away, was the Kevin Spacey track for the Taproot record.
That's insane. Yeah, I mean, just the fact that he was going to be on Taproot. I mean, you got to wonder what would happen with Taproot if Lane Staley actually did that song, and what would that would
I mean, probably not much more than that happened. That record's already gold, and it did pretty. It probably would have been cool. It probably would have been big, but even then, like Alice in Chains was kind of, in kind of a down period too. You know what I mean? It was kind of it would retroactively be huge now as kids are going back and finding it. So it would. But I mean, again, I think at that time grunge was sort of on a trajectory out, and Alice in Chains had kind of died off because Lane wasn't in. They hadn't done anything yet for 6 years at that point. You know what I mean? Really, like Lane had kind of been in seclusion, and at the time, I recall, I think he had lost all of his teeth. He didn't have any of his teeth anymore.
Yeah,
I remember Cold or somebody saw him. He came out to a show in Seattle, and I remember seeing pictures. And he had no teeth, and he was like 100 pounds, and it broke my heart because when I saw that, I'm like, I knew he was going to be gone soon, and he was within a year, I know, of that. But anyway, so the cool thing. So back to this. So besides that, all brings us back around to besides. So I found out they did this, and I talked them into. So basically, what we're doing is it's up for pre-order now. We're releasing the best of besides. We basically picked out, me and Phil and Steve basically went through and picked out 19 tracks off of here.
Cool.
In a single disc best of compilation that's coming out on CD and vinyl. And it's basically like 2 songs for the most part from each era. There's 2 from the original demos, and then there's 2 from Welcome Era, 2 from Gift, 2 from Blue Sky Research. Basically 2, and then the Kevin Spacey demo is actually
Yes,
on there.
it is. That's good. I didn't
On
know
the
that's
best
the
of
name of the song. That I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it.
all their tracks have like goofy, and I used to do it too, but I still do. But all their songs have these little like goofy working titles. The song wasn't really going to be called Kevin Spacey. That was kind of like the working title, So that's just funny. It just kind of stuck because they never did anything with it. You know. Sorry, Billy's texting me.
No, it's all good.
But yeah, no, so that's super cool. So what we're doing is we're basically going to take this. We're releasing the best of besides first, and then but we're going to release the rest of it. So this is 8 discs. What we're going to do is basically take it and split it up into like 2 disc volumes like this. The first one will be like the demo, original, pre-signed era, and then Gift, and then the second one will be the 2 disc Welcome Era, then the 2 disc Blue Sky Research era, and they actually
that's cool.
We actually found another disc or 2 full of stuff from Plead the Fifth, and because this only really goes through our long road home. So they also have stuff from Plead the Fifth and the episodes and this new record too. You know what I mean? So we actually ended up finding another disc or 2 worth of stuff that's not even on here. So we're gonna do like 4 2-disc volumes of like this, like a 2 CD package instead of just the one big box set. It's kind of, just expensive and cost prohibitive. And again, I think it's going to be cooler and easier to have it just in like 2-disc. So we're going to re-release that in kind of 2-disc volumes over the next year and a half.
When's that going to be available? You said a year and a half. It'll be.
The Best of Besides is already up for pre-order. That's actually coming out in May, and
cool.
that'll actually be deep on if you go to taprootmerch.com, you can pre-order it. But that'll actually be, this was never put on digital outlets or anything. So the Best of Besides and those volumes as they come out will be on the digital outlets as well. But the Best of Besides is awesome. I mean, it's 19 tracks. It's a lot of stuff, and it's got kind of the cream of the crop of all the demos from all the stuff. And we really picked, me and Phil and Steve really picked some of the kind of stronger songs from each era. So strong. So that's going to come out digital and physical, I think May 5th, actually, Cinco de Mayo, that's going to come out. And and then we're putting out the new studio record, Scissors, in September. So we didn't want to put out more than that one best of before the studio record. So that's why it's kind of, the first 2 discs, volume 1, and maybe volume 1 and 2 will come out at the same time. But that'll we're getting it all remastered. Steve always jokes around and goes, well, it's not remastered because it was never mastered in the first place. We're getting it mastered. So it's going to be totally different than it was on Besides. It sounds different. It sounds bigger. It's mastered. There's only so much you can do to it. I mean, a lot of these are like basement cassette demos, but they definitely sound better and fuller and bigger. And, it's definitely But so the first, they're going to come out next year sometime.
So I want to ask you a question. With these skate decks, going back to these skate decks real quick, do you have a kind of a wish list of artists that you want to work with and make these decks for? Do you have like a list of people that you're like, we really want to get, like, if you guys had Deftones, I mean, could you imagine it would sell out within minutes? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you have a list of?
Of course, I'd love to do Deftones. I'd love to do Korn. I mean, there's a lot of politics in the stuff, I mean, look, all this newer stuff we've been doing, Fear Factory, Taproot.
Yeah, that's amazing.
All the stuff I kind of brought in, that's sort of my role here is A&R and marketing, which has always kind of been my thing, and that's what I've done. So I brought in, but we also just started doing wheels, So we released a helmet wheel today. We released.
No way.
Yeah,
oh, exactly. That's so cool, man.
We just put it up on the site today. We're in the middle of another huge deal another huge deal that I can't talk about that should be done. But I mean, we have there's so many of them that are awesome. I mean, I've been kind of good. We just released Dangerous Toys decks, which I've always loved the artwork from those records. So that was really a fun to do. We did the Metal Blade collaboration, which was awesome for their 40th anniversary. That was another thing I kind of put together. But I'd love to, obviously, I mean, dude, I would love to do Faith No More. All the big bands, I'd love to do, but it's a licensing thing, and there's certain things, and so we're kind of making our way through all those channels. And again, I mean, I would love to do a lot of them. I mean, Faith No More, Korn, Motley Crue. You know what I mean? It's and some of it we're already working on, some of it we're already kind of in the works. But at the same time, I'm kind of trying to push us into the more. I love doing the license stuff. I love doing the band decks. but I'm working on kind of pushing us more into the traditional skate world too. I mean, I love doing the license stuff, but now we're kind of, and we also we have a Descendants board coming out. We do Subhumans. We do a lot of more punk rock stuff too, GBH and the Cro-Mags, and that stuff sells like crazy too. And it's so cool, but there's just such a delineation between. I mean, we just do whatever we like. Me and John are both on the same page. Like when I go to him, I go, dude, I want to do a Trickster deck. He doesn't laugh at me. He goes, dude, that's awesome. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny. Kind of the same kind of obscure taste in music, you know what I mean? And he kind of gives me free reign to do what I want, which is awesome. But so we're releasing this artist series with my friend. We're starting with my friend Tanner Goldbeck, who is a Powell artist for he designed decks for Powell for like 20 years, and he does like helmets for Icon Motorsports. And he's like a huge street graffiti artist and kind of a working artist in LA. So we're kind of, we're kind of branching out into trucks and wheels and grip tape and, different stuff and getting, some of that is still the licensed stuff. We released, a helmet grip tape and a helmet wheel today. We released a Scatterbrain wheel the other day, which is really cool too. It's got obviously the Robert Williams artwork from Here Comes Trouble on it. But yeah, I've been trying to push us more into the traditional skate sector too, and doing non-licensed stuff, just kind of creating our own. Chris Haslam, who's a huge skater, did some artwork for us, and we're actually going to reissue that as part of the artist series. So we're kind of trying to push, great content from the licensed decks, but then at the same time, we're also trying to push, we're making a big push into the traditional retail skate sector too, So, the other thing I was going to say before that's awesome, and we totally got sidetracked. So our boards are all $70. They're all pro models. Check your head, everybody. They're all kind of, God, I can't stop staring at that Faith No More deck and that Arise deck.
Check your head. Check your head. That's what, yeah. I'll send you a link. Yeah. I'm
familiar with Check Your Head. I just don't really, I'm familiar with them, and I know they do that stuff, and I didn't even think they're really doing. And I know they do real limited edition runs. Like
that's the issue. They give
Well, that's it. We don't, and that's it. We always talk about that. They get to do like 50 of them, and they sell out. And I guess they have problems with their orders and some of their decks. The quality isn't that great, and different things. But yeah, I'm just like so. But yeah, we've kind of come in and filled that space and really kind of do things differently. And we're not doing limit. I mean, we're getting, we're just doing them sort of on a continuing basis. Like, we're doing 50 of them, 100 of them, and then they're gone and you can't get them anymore. And which it's awesome to do that. And I love that. And it's fun. And there's some exclusivity to it then, but I mean, it's not really a sustainable model for a business,
I know, man. Hey, so Thom, listen, we're gonna have to do a part 2 because I'm getting the word I gotta end this shortly. But
I see how it is.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I gotta I'm using Zoom, so I gotta upgrade my Zoom. I'm doing the cheap route right now. But
I see. Is that can you restart? Can you turn it off and just do a new call?
Yeah, we could probably do that, man.
I mean, dude, I'm going. I'm good. I got nothing to do. I just gotta call the tapper. So if you want, unless you got something else to do, we can do it another time. But if you want, yeah, dude, let's just hang up and let's just start. What do you get? You get like 8. Oh, you got 7 minutes. What do you get? Like 30 minutes.
I get 45 minutes. But you know what? After tonight, I'm gonna upgrade though. So, but yeah, you want to do that, man? I'll end it and I'll send and we'll just paste it together.
Just finish up? You want to just. Yeah, you can. Yeah, we can do that because then you'd have to edit all this shit out too. So yeah, let's do that. Just end it. Send me another one. We'll jump back on.
Okay, I'll hit you up in 1 sec.
Okay, cool.
All right, see you, brother.
Bye, buddy. Turf war, like the Warriors. We're kind of going after the same projects and the same stuff. And I started the Flip Record Street Team, so I worked the first Cold record, the second record. I love
those albums, man.
I did too. And I did the first 2 Limp Bizkit records. I did the first 2 State.
Wow.
Yeah, I moved to LA to start the Flip Record Street Team.
Yes, that's so cool.
So it was funny. So I did it kind of started out, I did some stuff for, some limited stuff for Roadrunner. I interned out Immortal, who kind of were doing a street team thing, and I'd been kind of doing it. And then I went to Immortal and worked with them and did some stuff with them. And I'd already done some stuff for Jive. And then, I met Fred Durst when Limp Bizkit first, their first tour with Korn, right? And Korn and Delinquent Habits. That's when I met.
Oh, Delinquent Habits, yeah. No.
I went and hung out with Fred, and I kind of became friends with the guys and told him what I did. And he's like, dude, let's do a street team. I want to do it. So we had a conference call, me, Fred, and Jordan Scher. And Fred said, hey, Jordan, this is Thom Hazaert. We're going to start a street team, and he's going to run it. And Jordan said, no, we're not. And Fred said, yeah, we are. And Jordan said, no, we're not. And Fred said, yeah. And no, he didn't actually say that, but Fred got away and we started a street team. So I put it together and we had like 50, 100,000 people on it. It was fucking huge. And then, with that, we did the first two Limp Bizkit records, the first two Stained records. Technically, by significant other, I think those guys. So basically, Flip got so big with Limp Bizkit that they basically gave him Geffen. Like he did, they gave him Geffen to run. So after that, I ended up doing a lot of stuff for Geffen. We did like the Rob Zombie records and Bloodhound Gang and Puddle of Mud and 9 Inch Nails. And we started getting all these projects from Geffen and Interscope. So we started working all those records for them, which was fucking, and I actually managed, through that same circle, I managed Depswa and got them signed to Geffen. So that was how they got signed to Geffen, was my relationship with Jordan Scher and Jen Littleton, and Mike Woglam, and everybody who ran Flip. You know what I mean? So I worked with Stained and Cold, but I also worked with Static X, and we worked on a lot of records. Crazy Town, Static X.
Were you working with you were on the Angel Sun video? Were you working with Snot back then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I did the Snot Street team with Snot's website when that first record was out. Absolutely no. We did I ran the Snot Street team. We ran.
That's Snot's amazing. website. I had those guys here, man. That's cool.
Did you? Yeah, no, I love those guys.
I had John and man, my mind's gone blank. Mikey. Yeah. That's amazing, dude.
I actually was talking to those guys a couple weeks ago about doing Snot decks, and they were all stoked.
Oh, wow.
They kind of go through me. I think they're just busy. So eventually I will bug them and get it done.
Oh, I'm going to bug them too for you.
Do it.
Yeah. I know those guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have Lynn and Dobbs tattooed on my leg. Like Lynn was my friend.
What was it like recording that video or being on for Angel Sun on the beach? You were there.
It was the saddest fucking day of my life, man. It was a really amazing experience. I was in the studio with them when that whole record was being made. When Straight Up was being made, I was kind of
such an underrated album too. I know it's sad, but I mean that is an amazing how that came together.
The funniest thing I remember is they were recording at Grandmaster Studios in Hollywood, right? And Shannon Larkin came in to do his drums. He was there. He was starting his drums. I walked around the corner, went to Popeyes to get food, came back, and he was done with his drums for the entire record.
One take.
Literally the whole record in less than 2 hours. He recorded all of the drums for that record, and he was done. Like I went and ate lunch, fucked around on Hollywood Boulevard for a minute, came back, and he was done. Like
it's insane. Yeah.
It was fucking insane. It was like the crew.
He's an amazing drummer.
I was with them at the record plant. They were working on it. And, I remember kind of them recording some Angel Sun and some of that stuff. And I remember being around when Shannon was tracking stuff at Grandmaster. It's a great record. And that was when I was still kind of doing a lot of stuff with Immortal. And, I was kind of involved in that. But
I interviewed Corey Taylor real fast and I was talking to him about it. And he said that he wasn't even really, if I remember correctly, he didn't even tour with Snot, but they asked him to be on it.
No.
And maybe he knew like how special it was.
Slipknot was kind of came kind of in as Snot was already, it was weird. Like they kind of were getting big as when Lynn already passed, you know what I mean? Like they weren't really, they didn't really, Slipknot came a little bit later than Snot. Snot was already kind of like big doing their thing. And then,
how close are you to Lynn? I mean, do you have any stories?
I mean, pretty close, man. I mean, yeah, I mean, we hung out, and I'd always go whenever they played close, and I'd go. I loved Lynn, man. He was a great dude. He was a fun dude, man. He was he was literally like the coolest guy I've ever met in my life. Because everybody loved Lynn. Every girl that met him wanted to fuck him. Like he had that charisma, man. Like you were just around. I mean, look, I probably wanted to fuck him. Like he just had that charisma that sucked you in and just made you fall in love with him. He was that guy.
You just got to wonder, like, what that. I know, man. This episode's been a lot about death, but I just wonder, like, where would they be? A few albums down the road.
I know, man. I mean, it's funny. They probably would have kind of died, and then now they'd be huge again, like everybody else is from that
Yes.
era. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
probably have done a couple of records and sort of, faded out a little bit, and then got back together and like blown up, and they'd be like huge again now. And it was. But I tell you, no, when Lynn died, I was fucking crushed. I was crushed. When people ask me how long my hair is, I know how long I've been growing my hair. I shaved my head the day Lynn died, and I haven't cut it since. Like
Oh
literally,
wow.
when Lynn died, I freaked out and shaved my head, and literally, so my hair is that old.
Jeez, man. It's
But yeah,
crazy how young all those guys were, how long ago that
Lynn was
was.
an accident, though. Lynn, at least,
Yeah.
it wasn't drug or suicide. Like Lynn. So basically, and it's funny and sad because I told my daughter is learning how to drive, and like I was kind of telling her how dangerous it is. But so basically, it was in Santa Barbara I think it was on Highway 1, but it was one of these things where you have to like cross 4 lanes of traffic to turn onto the highway, and
Yeah.
he was on across like the lanes, and somebody fucking just hit him. Like you tried going too fast, or didn't see it, and he was trying to cross like 4 lanes of traffic to like a crossing to go back the other way on the freeway, and he got hit. So it was like
And Sonny's mentioned several times how bad of a driver he was. Like he said, driving with him was crazy.
I never experienced his driving. It was terrible. But yeah, no, I did. But I've heard these things. But yeah, so yeah, Lynn was fucking awesome, and that video shoot, it was literally like the most depressing day of my life. Like just hearing, I still like have an instant response. Like I still tear up when I hear that song in any instance, man. Anywhere I go, they play it. Anywhere it comes up, it's like automatic, like fucking waterworks. It's crazy, but
Oh man, yeah, same.
standing around that day with everybody, hearing that song bumping. I remember standing there watching them filming that scene on the beach with his mom and his sister, and just like fucking breaking down. Man,
Who played him in the video? It was a guy that was in a band, right?
Shovel, the singer from Shovel.
Shovel, yes, yeah.
So basically, he was walking around like, obviously his face wasn't blurred out in real life, but he was walking around like kind of touch. Yeah, there's the singer from Shovel. That's who it was.
Was that a party? Like, it's kind of a sad celebration, but were you guys? I mean, you're around like Mark McGrath. I mean, you're around some like pretty big people at the time.
Those guys were all my friends at the time, man. Like Incubus was there. Like,
yes,
it's funny. I remember I ended up riding back home from Malibu with David Draymond in the back seat. I remember that. I don't.
Oh, cool.
There was a dude named Ray Nishimoto, and he brought me and David back. But yeah, David Draymond was in the back seat of the car with us when I went back to Hollywood. I remember that too.
I think like that's amazing that happened. And you know what's cool? Like if I have to go, I want that to happen. If I go, I want to have all my friends get together and just party like that. I mean, that's awesome, man.
Look, we tried to make it a celebration and as happy as it was. And I mean, parts of it were like genuine, like us, like kind of going up and greeting everybody. And I remember, hey, dog, shut up.
His mom was there too, right? I mean, she was in the video.
Yeah. Sister Jenny, like that scene in the beginning where they're all putting the logs on the fire. That's his mom. And that's why I said, watching that and hearing that song blare over the fucking speakers like this.
Oh God, dude. Did you get choked up? I mean, just while you were there? I mean,
I've never been sadder in my life than I was at that video shoot. Ever. It was literally,
I just got chills, man. I got to go back and watch it after this interview again.
And the worst fucking thing is, so you're watching the video and you watch me. My hair is really short and stupid because again, when Lynn died,
short and stupid.
So my hair is like short and stupid, and I'm like just so kind of depressed and into it, and just kind of like, and I look, and I'm in every other shot because I'm standing right next to Morgan fucking drum set. So I'm wearing this bright ass Adidas North Carolina jersey, and it's like says bright fucking blue, I think. So I stick out and like every other, and I just look terrible. And
orange was huge back then. Everybody wore. Rob from Machine Head wore orange.
It wasn't orange though. It was blue. I had two.
Oh, blue. Oh yeah, it's blue. Yeah, you're right.
All the football jerseys. It was the 2000s. So all the teams that Adidas made the jerseys, like I had a Texas Longhorns one that was bright orange, and then North Carolina. Those are the two teams that Adidas made their jerseys. So I had them both, and yeah, I thought it was a long, but no, it's the bright blue, like I believe the North Carolina Tar Heels football jersey. Again, because it was Adidas, it was the 2000s. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Right.
and yeah, so I'm wearing this bright, and it wasn't my intention to wear this bright ass shirt and stick out in the video like fucking Violet Beauregard and Willy Wonka, but I did. So,
At
but
least
yeah,
we can notice you though. That's good.
yeah, dude, I'm in the Limp Bizkit counterfeit video.
You are? Okay. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
I'm in the stained mud shovel video. I've been in my share of new metal rock and roll
That's
videos.
awesome. I had Jacoby on the show, and he pointed out to me that he's in the board video, and I never knew that, and we rewatched it. Yeah, so they're walking.
I remember when I first Deftones before Adrenaline came. Like I had such
Oh,
great.
you're there before. Oh, sweet. So yeah, like blonde dreads. That's one of my favorite bands too, by the way.
So when the first before Adrenaline came out, they did a tour with Ozzy and Korn. I know it sounds like the weirdest tour in the world, and it was. So I went and saw that, and I did an interview with Deftones, and I did an interview with Korn. I did an interview with Korn for Circus, and it was like Korn's first like big interview in a big magazine at the time, right? So I went and did an interview with them for Circus, and I interviewed Deftones and hung out. And at that time, Adrenaline had already, or I'm sorry, MSO had already sent me Adrenaline, so I already had the record. I already loved it. I was in love with the band, and I went and hung. I ended up hanging out with those guys all night and becoming really, and Stefan ended up being a good friend of mine for years, and
Cool.
But yeah, so I remember sitting with the Deftones guys in the seats next to the stage in this big arena in Madison, watching Korn and Ozzy, and it was so rad. I loved those.
That's amazing.
I love Cheat and Steph. Steph was a good friend for a while. I don't know if you and Rob Arnold talked about this. I'm sure you asked him how Stefan.
Well, yeah, Rizzo. Yeah, he's on the song. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Camira likes to rewrite history and leave me out of that shit. But the reason Stefan was on that record was because Stefan was my friend. I went to his house and said, "Dude, check out this band. I'm working with Camira." And I'm like, "Dude, would you be?" And he loved it, and he agreed to be on the record. So he
wow.
Ours and yeah, I
love wow, that's your connection. Rob and I did talk about you, but we didn't bring that didn't come up though. That's amazing.
Yeah, I love those guys, and again, it's just one of those things where it's like, you're the early manager of the band, and then there's always with bands, there's always this grass is greener mentality, and whatever. When you're the first manager, you always kind of get fucked over, and and they hated. So look, I'm the one who picked Mud Rock to do Pass Out of Existence. And they never liked that record. They thought it was too new metal. So
I love that album.
I do too, and so does everybody else. And Mark tries to distance himself from it, and so that kind of led to them sort of writing off some of my contribution because they were pissed that I hired Mud Rock to do their record, and it was just like,
oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay,
I mean, I don't really talk about this shit now. It's like 30 years in the past, so and I'm getting older, and I've died time, so I didn't give a fuck. I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, but
yeah, keep going. I get so many questions for you, man. It's nuts. How do you, like, so many people, like me included, are like, you have the coolest job for decades, like, how are you always in the right place with the right people? You know how many people are jealous of you? Like, just like, oh, I was just hanging out with the Deftones. Oh, I'm just hanging out with Olympus. That's amazing, dude. Like you were living my dream. Like I've really
been blessed to have been involved. And I mean, I've really been blessed to it's always just being in the right place at the right time. And, look, you just I've always found the right bands and just been into the right things, and my taste led me to the right things. And part of it's been luck, and part of it's just been hustle, man. I've been hustling since I was 15 fucking years old. I mean, I don't know, I don't know if you know this, but I mean, as far as like the mainstream industry goes, I discovered Papa Roach. I did A&R for Jive, and I tried signing them to Jive like years before they were signed to DreamWorks, right? So I brought them to my boss, Michael Tedesco at Jive, and I said, this band Papa Roach, and this was when they just had like, the demo with barbed wire and stuff, and before that, they didn't have any of the, at Last Resort or any of that stuff yet. That kind of came when they were demoing before the DreamWorks deal. But so yeah, I brought like 5 tracks deep and barbed wire and that stuff, and I brought it to Jive, and I said, Michael, this band, this is the one, man. And he was like, so you think out of all these bands, this band is the band that's going to be bigger than all of them? And I said, yes, absolutely. Jive passed on it. So, and at the time, that was kind of what I did, was shop bands. So, their manager, Brett Baer and Gary Avila, were good friends of mine. So I kind of took it and started taking it to all my other label friends. And I set up the showcase at the Troubadour and invited DreamWorks. I only invited all these guys down. I set up the showcase at the Troubadour that Papa Roach got signed off of. I brought them to Jive first. Jive passed. So then I said, fuck it. And I helped them shop it. And yeah, I helped them get their deal with DreamWorks and set up the showcase that they got signed off of.
What was about Papa Roach that you saw that they didn't see? Like, was there a certain song or style?
It was, they were doing this like kind of Iron Maiden-y twin lead thing with the bass thing. They were just on to something. And their original demos and like the Old Friends from Young Years and stuff. That's when I first met Papa Roach. It was like Old Friends from Young Years.
Yeah. I talked to Jacoby about that.
It was so cool. But then when they did that 5-track deep shit and did like Barbed Wire, that's when I was really like, this band is on to something special, And it was, again, they were kind of doing this like Iron Maiden-y, the kind of twin dual lead thing with the bass.
I thought Barbed Wire's on the second album. Is that on the first album? I'm totally
no. It didn't even end up on the first record. They demoed that song long before the first record, but it didn't end up on the first record. And I was bummed because I thought that was like, that should have been one of their biggest songs. Did
they release that song? Is that out?
Yeah, it's on the second record.
Yeah, okay. I'm not losing my mind. I'm like,
it ended up on Love, Hate, Tragedy. It ended up on the second record.
I never knew that. That's crazy.
Record. Yeah, but that was the song that made me fall in love with that band and made me go, okay, this band is doing something totally different. And again, they had this almost like pop punk aesthetic to it, but then this like kind of Iron Maiden-y aesthetic that was bringing something totally new into that, new metal world, for lack of a better. We didn't call it that then, obviously. It's funny. New metal was created originally as a derogatory term by people like me and people in the business to make fun of. So basically, there was that period, and I love some of these bands, but there was this period where after Limp Bizkit got big and the first wave of all these bands kind of blew up, the major labels all clamored to go find their. It was just like with glam metal, you know what I mean? They went and found the Tiketos and some of the. There's always this like period where the major labels all go out and try and find one of their bands, so you end up with like 20 Deftones, Limp Bizkit clones. You know what I mean? And new metal, we made up that term to make fun of this band. Oh yeah, they're new metal with a U, And it's so funny that, now it's like this like badge of honor and it's like just become a legitimate genre, But originally new metal was kind of an insult that people, in the business that were kind of really into this world, used to make fun of all those third-rate, the fourth wave bands that the major labels signed to try and cash in on the Limp Bizkit, Deftones, Korn trend, that were just kind of clones of it.
But can I ask you something? Like, I really want your opinion on this. Judgment Night could be the best soundtrack ever, right?
Definitely top 5. I mean, look, my top 5.
That's before new metal. That's before that name even existed. Yeah.
And I mean, Judgment Night and the Spawn soundtrack was actually a really
I like Spawn stuff. Yeah.
But you know what? And Happy Walters, the guy who owned Immortal, did all the soundtracks. He did Judgment Night. Like Happy Walters, I will give him this. So, when I started doing this, when I started managing bands, which was basically all I could do, because when you're just some dumb kid from the Midwest, like you can't just go in and get a job at a label or doing something. So, but nobody can stop you from being a manager. So I just went and discovered some bands that were really young and fresh. And Michael Tedesco from Jive was awesome and believed in me really early. And Monty Connor from Roadrunner was a good friend and really guided me. And Bob Chiappardi and a couple guys in the business. But yeah, Michael Tedesco really early on believed in what I did and, hired me to do the street team stuff. But he also hired me to be an A&R scout and paid me for 10 years to be an A&R scout for Jive, man. So, and I brought them, but the stuff I brought them Non-Point. I brought them an early version of Linkin Park. I brought them, I brought them.
That's so cool, man. These are my world.
I brought them Chimera. I brought them all this shit. Everything I brought that I got signed, every band I got signed somewhere else, I brought to Jive first, and they passed on it. And then I went and shopped it elsewhere, So, but Michael was great and really believed in me and was awesome. And I got to do some A&R on Broke on the second Head PE record, which was fucking rad.
That's one of my favorite albums, man. It's so good.
That was kind of the era when I was really doing the most of my stuff with Jive. Was kind of like, in that Broke. But I was
You have like an ear for the best music. Like my favorite bands that people are passing on. Like it's like you can hear something they can't hear or something. I don't know, man. It's wild. Like
Yeah,
they
it
should
was.
be trusting you. Like they shouldn't be passing once you bring it
They
to them.
got to the point where they kind of did, but you know, it's so funny. Right when they got to the point where it was undeniable and all the labels were trying to hire me and everything, the bottom fell out of the music business and everything changed and moved away from this style of music. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's when
yeah.
I started Corporate Punishment. That's when I started my own label. And again, when you said before, what would happen with Snot if Win wouldn't have passed away? Again, they're like 5 years later, all of that stuff kind of sort of just
Mm-hmm.
took it. And that's why I started my label to kind of, and I kept doing some of that kind of stuff. I mean, again, I put out the Ghost Machine record, which was Ivan Moody. So basically, after he left Motor Grader, he started Ghost Machine. I put that record out, and literally the day it came out, he quit and joined Five Finger Death Punch. You know what I mean? So even
Oh,
everything
how?
that become the biggest shit I was involved with in some way, shape, or form. And
Yeah.
I actually, so there was this festival called Delicious Rocks, and it was this like festival in the middle of nowhere in Sedalia, Missouri. It was Five Finger Death Punch's first show, and it was Motor Grader played too. So literally, the only time Motor Grader, it was Motor Grader's last show with Ivan. They did like a reunion show, and Five Finger Death Punch did their first show. Fear Factory played. I don't remember who else, but we were a sponsor of it, so I flew out for it, right? And I had a bunch of bands on it. So this poor guy, and I can relate to this so hard, man, because I've been in this position. But the poor guy, like the show tanked, like 100 people showed up, and it was a great show. And like literally this huge festival, amazing production. 100 people showed up. The guy, the promoter, basically faked a heart attack to get taken out of there at the end of the night, so he didn't have to deal with it. And
Oh,
so Ivan got left there. So I took him back with me to St. Louis to catch the flights. We went back and hung out and went to the strip club and chilled.
oh, cool.
On the way back, he played me the Five Finger Death Punch demos, and they didn't have the
Really?
bleeding.
Like bleeding? Oh, okay, yeah.
No, they didn't have the bleeding, but they had it was basically the first like 4 songs of it. They had Way of the Fist. They had some really.
Mhm.
It was basically the exact same versions that ended up on the first record. They didn't have the bleeding yet, but the only song I really remember was Way of the Fist, which I remember hearing that and going, "Fuck, this is awesome." You know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he asked me to put it out on that ride. He's like, "Dude, would you want to maybe do something with this and put out an EP or put the record out?" And I literally told Trey, I said, "Dude, I'm done with the label shit. I'm winding it down." I said, "But this is incredible. You'll find a major label. You'll get signed, and you guys will be the biggest fucking band in the world. Mark my words." And 6 months later, they got signed, and 3 years later, they were the biggest fucking band in the world. You know
And
what
you
I mean?
saw it, man. You could tell.
I did, and it was. I mean, I just hearing that fucking just the way they, and I felt the same way about Chimera, man. Like, no, you know, Roadrunner didn't like Chimera. Monty hated Chimera. It took 2 years.
Wow.
Basically, how Chimera got signed is, so I knew Chris Bacuza. He was like, I met him when he was like 13 fucking years old on AOL, right? And we kind of were friends. And one day he just goes, "Hey, dude, I'm in this band." And he started doing keyboards and programming. And then one day he goes, "Dude, I'm in this band, Chimera. Can we send you a demo?" And he sent me the Present Darkness EP. And I'm like, "Dude, this is awesome." So I started managing them. And then I sent that to Roadrunner. There wasn't really any interest. And then we did the new demos. They did the demos that was like Dead Inside and I think Severed. And then and then we did the Farm Club thing. And then we did
Oh, Farm Club's a big thing. That was huge, man. Matt
Farm Club was
Pinfield.
awesome. Matt Pinfield, I love Matt.
Friends with me too, man. Yeah.
Matt, it's so funny. So literally, Matt offered me a job, and there was a time when Matt was doing A&R at Atlantic Records or Elektra, one of the two in New York. And literally, I was getting on a plane to go to New York to meet with him, and literally, that's when Matt like freaked out, went into rehab. I guess he had like a drug thing going on, and so the whole thing disappeared. So I literally, I was going out there he wanted to hire me to do A&R for him. He was running A&R at. It might even have been Columbia. I can't even remember. It was so fucked. But Matt's a delightful guy. And after that, he went and got clean and kind of, I think he kind of never really went back to doing that A&R type of thing. But yeah, so Matt's delightful. And I love the guy. And he's always been super cool to me. But I remember he did an interview with how we really met. He did an interview with Switch for Playboy, or he was doing an article for Playboy about the best new metal bands, not NU but NEW, and he put something in there about Switch for me, and he really
Switch, yeah.
He was always so great to me, but yeah, so we did the Farm Club thing, and then so it was basically a 2-year process of me getting all my. So I got Jack Osborne into Chimera, I got Dino Guitarra into Chimera, who'd been a friend of mine for years, I got Stefan into Chimera. And then
Oh yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah. What was Monty not like it? What was wrong with Monty with Chimera? Was it because of the year? Was it, you know? I mean the style of
I
music.
honestly I don't know. And then Kevin Estrada, I brought it to Kevin Estrada, who is the West Coast A&R guy, and he fucking loved it. And he started bugging Monty. So it was basically this process. And I was telling Monty, this is a classic Roadrunner band. This is like Sepultura. This is everything Roadrunner. And you got to keep in mind, this was before Killswitch Engage. This was before metalcore. This was before any of this. And that was kind of what I was putting.
Yes, that's a great point. Behind ahead of its time.
The melodic vocals with this heavy thing, and it will be the biggest fucking thing in the world. And I kind of pushed them towards that. And I think that's the other thing Mark kind of resented, because that's why people called the record nu metal, because he sang and screamed. But they were creating the template for the whole fucking world by doing that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, own that shit. You know, like, you guys, that band literally helped create the template for fucking everything. Wham! Some people called you nu metal. So fucking what? You know what I mean? Like, literally, that helped create the blueprint for everything.
You've had such a great point, and I hope they realize that. And in hindsight, you know, they're so worried about nu metal, but that I don't think nu metal.
They blame me for all of that shit. I'll tell you this right now. Mark Hunter blames me for all of that, for their association with nu metal, because I got Mud Rock to produce the record, because I encouraged him to sing and do that sort of thing. And, you know, like, I think if Mark had his way, it'd all been like Severed, you know what I mean? Which was cool. But what made Chimera what it was the juxtaposition of Severed and Dead Inside and then Down Again. And obviously Ben Schigel was so instrumental in that Down Again thing, and Ben, the singer from Switch, you know, so all of that stuff. And yeah, so I mean, but yeah, I think that really Chimera did. I think they created the blueprint for all of that shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it really wasn't a thing then. There wasn't bands who were combining really heavy, extreme, borderline death metal with melody. It just wasn't a fucking thing in 1999.
It wasn't. You're right, man. They're ahead of the time. I never thought of it that way. When I went back on your channel and I'm listening to you sing, I'm like, holy crap, you can sing really good. With how did you hook up with Dave Ellefson and Sleeping Giants and that album and Run DMC, and I'm like, it's amazing, dude.
And then we did this whole record, which is all covers, and it's fucking awesome. I mean,
yes,
there's like Dave Lombardo on it, and Dirk and Al Jorgensen from Ministry, Mark Slaughter. You know, yeah, me and Al did do a duet on it. We do a cover of Bob Peter's by Cheap Trick, which is fucking awesome.
I love Ministry, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah, the video is so cool to find it on. It was so we went to Al's studio in LA to go shoot this video. And my idea was like, could we set up 2 microphones and have me and Al like kind of facing each other and just kind of dueling, like screaming? And he went for it, and that's what he did. And it looks so fucking cool, man. Melody Myers and another friend of Al's shot it, and Melody edited it, and it turned out, and Charlie Benante plays drums on it. You know, it turned out so fucking cool. And Al was such a cool dude too, man. So me and David hooked up. We met. I did a documentary about the Shocker. I was going to get into my top 5 soundtracks, and he asked about Judgment Night, but I didn't get a chance to. But maybe we'll get back to that.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it's all good. So, but I did I directed a 30-minute. For a period, I directed and produced special features for Scream Factory, for Shout Factory, and I did a 30-minute mini documentary about the Shocker soundtrack that was on the Shocker Blu-ray reissue that came out in like 2016, 2017. I don't know. Maybe it was 2015. But either way, so I directed this thing about the Shocker soundtrack. It was like I interviewed David, I interviewed Kane Roberts, I interviewed Bruce Kulick, I interviewed Jason McMaster from Dangerous Toys, I interviewed a bunch of people, and it was really cool. And so that's on the special. So that was kind of how I'd known David. We'd kind of met at NAMM before and stuff, and when he worked at PB, he was the A&R guy for some of my bands, actually. So we kind of reconnected through that, and he had this idea to do a label thing and do some things, and really there was synergy with what I did. So we connected, we did that, we started EMP, I kind of had the idea to relaunch Combat, and we did that, and you know, and then we eventually just started the band. It was just like, he was out touring, doing this like bass story thing, which was basically just him, like literally he was just playing bass to like a fucking MP3 on his computer, and it was just kind of dumb. So I said, dude, let's just build a real band. So we started bringing out a real band, just doing instrumental stuff. And one night I'm like, dude, why don't I just come up and sing a couple of the fucking songs? So I went up one night and did Peace Cells. And then it's like, okay, tomorrow we're gonna do Peace Cells and this and this and this. And so we toured the world for like 2, 3 years doing that. I mean, mostly playing Megadeth fucking covers, which is fine and which is awesome. And I never wanted to do that. So I kept pushing to get away from that. And then we wrote, so we wrote this book called My Life with Death. And through that,
it's good. It's
I
on
had the
Audible.
idea. I'm like, why don't we go in and record a couple songs to release as like a soundtrack to the book? And that's where Sleeping Giants with DMC came about, and Vultures. And as for DMC, I was friends with him, and I hit him up and I said, hey, dude, would you want to do a song? And DMC is way into metal stuff. So I hit him up. I said, hey, me and David are doing the song. Do you want to do a song together? And I sent him the track, and he loved it. And then me and him were texting back and forth, writing the verses, and it just came out real cool. And then we were in New York. He came and played with us, got up and we did Tricky live, and then we did that song together, did Sleeping Giants together. And we shot the video that day at Club Revolution on Amity, Long Island. So that was how that. And again, I'm a huge rap guy. I mean, again, I was always into rap, man. That was kind of my thing, was rap, Faith No More, and like hard rock and metal. So, and again, I loved I'm the Man. Like,
I'm the man. Yeah.
And all of this stuff came out of, you know what I mean? And everybody else sort of liking that same thing, Faith No More, and then Prong. I mean, look, that's, you talk to Korn, like a couple of years ago, I was hanging out with Head from Korn. We were just in a hotel and board. And I was like, dude, what influenced Korn? He's like, Prong, Faith No More. It's like, it's all the same bands, man. It's like the influence came from kind of the same things. They kind of intersect to have this thing where there's guys like me and these bands, and we were all pushing the same sort of thing. And we all kind of came out of the same sort of things. Sepultura, Faith No More, Prong. Those things all merged together to create Korn and Deftones, you know what I mean? But then there's also like hints like Depeche Mode and Alice in Chains and things like that sort of seeped into it too, especially in the case like Deftones, I don't think without Depeche Mode there would be any Deftones, I don't think there would be.
Yeah, I agree, man. Thom, man, I could talk to you forever, and I'm definitely gonna upgrade mine too because I keep running out of time. But I could talk to you forever, man, and I definitely want a part 2, if that's cool with you, man. I'd love to keep in contact.
Man, we still got 5 minutes. It says we still got 5 minutes. So
well, yeah, man. Let's go all out, man. And dude,
is there anything else? I mean, look, and dude, we should actually, when we're done, we should just jump on here and just shoot the shit and just, it'd be fun to like. I mean, I'd love to talk off the record and kind of tell you all this other shit that I can't tell you on the record.
I got so much I want to tell you off the record too, man.
Maybe we'll do that. Like, seriously, maybe I'll set up. Maybe when we're done, I'll set up a StreamYard link quick, and I'll send that to you. We can jump on there and we can just shoot the shit and plan a part 2, and I can kind of tell you other stuff. Yeah, we can maybe do part 2 in a couple of weeks when I can come back and all this other stuff is announced, and we can really talk about it.
Oh, okay. Well, dude, I 100% want a part 2, man, and maybe get you on the co-host sometime. We'll get some. That'd be fun, man. Get right. I was talking to Matt, maybe doing a second interview with him. Maybe get you on there and kind of talk about the past and stuff.
Right. Absolutely. Do you know the Corey Taylor story? Do you know the Corey Taylor, Thom Hazaert story? If you did,
he mentioned you in my interview once. I had to send that to you. I don't remember. Why don't you tell? Well, we got 4 minutes. Why don't you tell that? We'll
wrap it up with this. This is a great. And maybe if we have time, I'll tell you I almost got in a fight with Fred Durst story too, because they're both classic.
All right.
So when Slipknot was in LA, there was a time when me and Corey were kind of like best friends, like a good year period where. I was at least in his top 3. We hung out all the time. Every time he was in LA, he'd come over, hang out, sleep on my floor. Like, he was my dude, right? That was kind of how Depth's Law got their part of their deal. He wanted to sign them. He came and I lived with them for a while. And we kind of all shared a house, and he came over to the house and hung out with them, and they jammed for him, and he fell in love, and he wanted to sign them. Slipknot at the time was starting a label, and he wanted to sign them and the label never ended up happening. But he was still pissed at me for years because we signed to somebody else, but their label never even ended up happening. So, but anyway, so one night, and it was kind of when they were in LA and they were making Subliminal Verses. So I was kind of around when they were making Iowa at the record plant, and I was kind of around when they were making Subliminal Verses at the Houdini Mansion. And so one night, me and Corey and his ex-wife Scarlett, we go out, and they're staying at the Hyatt. We go. So this is when Steel Panther was still called Metal Shop, and they played every So Steel Panther for years played every week in LA. Like at first it was at the Viper Room, and then it got big and it moved up to the Key Club, which is now something else, but up the street. And so I think it was every Tuesday. Then originally they were called Metal School, then Metal Shop, then Steel Panther, right? So this was either Metal School or Metal Shop. I think it was Metal School. So we went to go watch them at the Viper Room. Corey got up on stage and did a song with them, and he was fucking hammered. So we get over to the hotel. I drop them off. We walk across the street. I drop Corey and Scarlett off at the hotel, and fuck, I gotta hurry up. It's like a countdown. Now. So anyway, so I get back to my hotel. I get back to my apartment in Hollywood. I'm going to get out of the cab, and Scarlett texts me and goes, "Hey, Biggie, can you come?" Corey calls me Biggie, but she goes, "Can you come back here? Corey's freaking out. I need your help." So I'm not even out of my cab yet. I make him turn around, bring me back to the Hyatt. I go in, the room's trashed. They're fighting. Corey's like just hammered, belligerent, like fuck. It was awful, man. It was just one of those, like, So Corey goes outside, and long story short, he attempts to jump. We're on like the 11th floor or something. They still had open balconies up high at the time. He goes outside, jumps up on the ledge, and attempts to jump off the balcony. I grab him as he's forward momentum over the balcony. Grab him.
Oh, jeez.
Him on the ground, just start fucking beating the shit out of him. And they tell the story way different. Like, oh, at first it was like, oh, Scarlett stopped me. Like, no, but it's funny. People like, oh, it was this friendly thing, gesture. You say, no, it's like, no, it was a really violent, like fucking, but it was just like your drunk friend, like doing something in a bad spot. But I literally like tackled him to the ground and started beating the fucking shit. Like, Corey, I mean, it was like that. It wasn't like this gentle, like friendly fucking thing, It was that it was, but anyway, so, and I never talked about it. When you work in this business, your mouth stays fucking shut. You don't, what you see, what you hear, what you do, you don't fucking talk about it. You just shut up, So I never talked about it. 2 years later, Corey told the story. It was on the cover of Crying, but I kind of got left out of it. And then
your name didn't get in there. That sucks.
No, it didn't. I got left out of it for years and years. And then Corey just, one day somebody sent me a link, and Corey started saying really nice stuff and about how I saved his life and how I was one of the most. There was an article about, Corey Taylor. These are the people who made me who I am, and I was in there. And I love the guy, and I would do anything for him. But yeah, so I mean, we're not like BFFs, and we don't even really. But yeah, no, it's cool. He still talks about me and still says nice thing. And God bless Corey. I love you. And glad I did it, man. I would save you 50 more times if I could. So there you go. There's the Corey Taylor story.
There's Corey Taylor. And look, we're gonna have you back on. Thank you so much for being on, Thom. And we're gonna have you on for sure. Cool. I want to have you on multiple times, man. You're the man, dude.
We probably have enough to talk about where I could do like 50 of them. I hate it. Anyway, but yeah. I'm going to text you when we jump up here. I'm going to text you real quick, and we'll reconnect for a couple more minutes and just kind of chat off the record. So awesome.
Sounds good. Thom Hazaert, you're the man.
Thank you, buddy. I'll talk to you in a minute.
All right. See you, bro. Hope you guys enjoyed my conversation with the man, Thom Hazaert. We could have talked forever. I mean, it was, and this is embarrassing, but I don't have a Zoom account. So if you notice, we had to stop twice, and towards the end, the countdown goes on because Zoom, you have to have a membership. I guess I'm gonna have to pay money now to actually have full interviews, but we'll probably have them on again. That was probably one of the longer interviews I've done on Zoom, obviously, because it cut me off. So anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I grew up. I mean, I found out about Thom when I was probably 19 or 20 years old, and he's always been in all these bands that I grew up listening to, not in the bands, but hanging around the bands and doing his thing, which you've heard in the interview. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it, and please like and subscribe my channel. And awesome. Take care, guys. Thank you.